It's like being part of that side of a kid's life makes a difference because you don't know, you may be the only person showing up at that game for that kid. I know when I played basketball in middle school, my dad never came to any of my games. I remember having the feeling of letting him know the games are there and him not showing up, me looking out and him not being there. Like I remember that feeling, but I also remember looking up and seeing, one of my teachers out there, who supported me. I remember seeing that and having that experience and saying, okay, somebody's here for me. And so when we do that, we don't realize the impact that it has on that kid, not only on that relationship, but on that kid's self-esteem, that sense, their sense of worth. And so many teachers don't do it. And I get it. We're all busy. I get the teachers. We talked about it before. The teachers who has to leave their job as a teacher and go work two and three other jobs throughout the week in order just to make ends meet, not to live lavish, but just to be able to provide on a daily basis. Um, but there are a lot of teachers who just prioritize their personal time over the impact in students' lives. And I can't say either one is wrong, but I can say you can make tremendous strides with students by getting involved beyond the four walls of your classroom with your students' lives. Um, and like I can't stress that enough. Mr. Pruitt, when we first started working in middle school, he said that to us. And coming from intermediate, we really didn't see it that often because there was really not a lot going on, outside of the school. There was an occasional band concert or choir concert that we went to during the holiday season or something, but it was really not that sense of gaining school spirit and rallying behind a team. And it's like I have a wall in my room that has the article that was written on Jones Toro's athletic department. And the kids, during the first couple weeks of school, they were like, "Can I go see what that is?" Yeah, and they go read the article, and they were like, "That's Coach Butler. That's our PE coach." Yeah, because they see a picture, they see an article, they know it comes from a magazine, they see all these pictures of these kids. Now I have something to look up to. There's something bigger than me. There's a legacy that's growing, and to be a part of it, you got to be a part of it.
Yeah. And, the thing that struck me first, and I'll make a couple points here that, is different and is a part of, you know, me not understanding it when I first started teaching is my family was at everything. Like my parents were at everything, my grandparents were at everything, like every golf match, every basketball game, every cross country meet. Like I very rarely could look up in the stands and not see someone from my family. So for me, I took that for granted. I took that for granted when a teacher would show up. I took it for granted and I didn't understand the gravity of it until I started teaching and coaching. And it would always amaze me when I started coaching is that it wasn't just the athletes that saw you different. There were so many kids. The other kids started to see like, oh, Mr. K's more than just this guy teaching us social studies. He's a football coach. And you build the relationship with the football players, and those good relationships from football spill over into the other relationships. And it was just always so amazing to me. I remember the first time I got invited to a quinceanera, and I was like, I asked one of the guys I taught with, I'm like, what do I even do with this? Like, he's like, you better take your ass to that thing. Me not understanding, but like he was explaining, like that's like a real honor to get invited to that. Like that's a really big event for kids,
Hmm. Hmm.
and showing up at stuff like that, it just made such a big difference. And I think that was part of the problem when I started with you is I lost out. We didn't have those opportunities to go to games and to do stuff, and there wasn't all of the available activities
Hmm.
that you could go to at the fifth and sixth grade level.
True. And now seeing what we're doing at Jones and thinking back about what we were doing over at Stellic, I think to myself and say, when you don't have those opportunities in those moments, it's responsibility of the teachers to create them,
to make them.
to make them. Because I started the Mac Club. That creates for students. Now there's a group of students that I probably would not have come in contact with that I came in contact with because I created something and brought them together.